Welcome to the Platform Interaction course of the Mobile Application Security Professional Series, brought to you by NowSecure. In this course, we'll cover excessive app permissions, interprocess communications, and web view usage. Let's get started. The Excessive App Permissions module. In this module, you will learn about the growing privacy risks and regulations tied to overpermissioning, and the mobile app permission best practices to protect sensitive information. Let's get started. App permissions control what data peripherals on a user's device are allowed to be accessed and utilized while the app is in use. An app requesting too many permissions, or those that do not make sense for its primary purpose, may be considered overprivileged or excessive. Unnecessary permissions can result in negative media coverage and impact users' trust. This adversely impacts reputation in a competitive app market. GDPR has proven that regulators are paying close attention to the data apps collect. The more data you collect, the bigger the potential regulatory headaches for your company. Apps that request more permissions than necessary may be rejected during an App Store review. Here are a few best practices to note. Use the principle of least privilege for app permissions. Eliminate any app permissions not directly used within your app's runtime. Or consider another permission with a lesser privilege that can accomplish the same goal as your current permission. Verify the app's functionality matches the permissions in the manifest or info.plist file. This can be determined by reviewing the app's business functions and determining the necessary business use cases for permissions. Review third-party SDKs used by your app to determine whether A, you actually need them, and B, if the SDKs can be configured to require fewer permissions and collect less user data. Permissions and their uses can vary. However, permissions should only be included in apps when it's absolutely necessary for the functionality. Interprocess Communication module. In this module, you will learn about interprocess communication risks for Android and iOS, including cross-app components and deep links. Interprocess communication, or IPC, describes the mechanisms used by different types of components to communicate with one another. Android, and on a more limited basis iOS, use IPCs to share data, communicate, prevent deadlocks, and synchronize execution between processes. Think of IPC as an API into your app, just one that uses obscure OS abstractions instead of HTTP requests. Mechanisms may include components such as activities, content providers, services, broadcast receivers, URL schemes, deep links, etc. An attacker will look for compromises in the ability to export or hijack IPC mechanisms. These compromises can expose functionality and data to other apps via IPC mechanisms, such as intents, binders, Android shared memory, broadcast receivers, or to the user via the user interface. IPC vulnerabilities can allow an attacker to breach the security sandbox provided by the platform. As a result, data that would otherwise be protected, such as the internal storage, may be exposed to attackers. For example, the app may intend to export some form of PDF summary through the IPC mechanisms. However, if implemented in an unsafe manner, this same mechanism may allow other apps to request a file export other than the intended PDF summaries from the app security sandbox. Let's review a few examples. Deep links result when an OS intercepts the URL and decides where to forward it. The logic of that decision-making in the early versions of the feature, before verified app links, is one of the risks. In some cases, it would get forwarded to the wrong or malicious app. An unintended app could then steal things like OAuth tokens in transit from the authentication journey in the browser to the app. The second risk is an input vector. Data received via a deep link must be treated as potentially malicious like any other external input. Depending on what the app does with that input, you may end up with a confetti of vulnerabilities. On iOS, one common way to implement deep links is by using a custom URL scheme. An app can register as the default handler for a URL scheme on a device. Since the registration occurs when the app is installed, multiple apps can attempt to register as the default handler for the same scheme. This can lead to a risk of the wrong app invoked to handle a URL, either by chance or maliciously. Input validation is critical when processing data received via a custom URL scheme, since those URLs can be loaded from any other process on the device. This example shows how a custom URL scheme is registered in Xcode. When registering a custom URL scheme in Xcode, specifying the role can impact whether your app is selected to open a URL if multiple apps register it on the same device. Choosing Editor indicates that your app defines the scheme versus just supporting it. On some versions of iOS, apps that register as Editor will be given precedence over apps that register as Viewer. Even though universal links are more secure, it is still crucial that apps validate the contents of incoming URLs and reject any that are malformed. Similar to custom URL schemes, universal links should not be used to perform security-relevant actions on behalf of the user, such as deleting data or accessing sensitive information. Here are some key questions to ask when validating Android app links. Has the Android auto-verify been set to true for all of the web URL intent filters of your app within the Android manifest.xml file? Have all custom schemes in your intent filter been removed, except for HTTP or HTTPS? Include a JSON file with the name assetlinks.json in your web server that is described by the web URL intent filter. In this example, we'll examine an app's Android manifest.xml file to determine whether it uses custom URL schemes. If you only have the APK file for an app and not the source code, you will need to decode the Android manifest first with a tool like APKtool or JADX. To find potential custom URL schemes, we can search for the keyword scheme. We are looking for an intent filter that has a data element with an Android scheme attribute. This one's a match. The value of the Android scheme attribute is MyApp, which means this app expects to use URIs that start with myapp:// to link to app content. Since MyApp is not a standard or well-known scheme like HTTP or HTTPS, we consider it a custom scheme. Any other app on the same device could specify the same scheme for deep links, an issue known as deep link collision. This could result in the wrong app receiving an intent when a deep link is loaded. Android app links ensure that only your app is going to be able to handle any redirect, URI, or URL in general. iOS universal links link directly to content within your app and share data securely. Manage data you receive from IPC mechanisms the same as you handle any other untrusted input. The Web Views module. In this module, you will learn about potential WebView vulnerabilities and ways they may be exploited, along with validation. WebViews are in-app browser components for displaying interactive web content. They can be used to embed web content directly into an app's user interface. The example here shows the difference in user experience by displaying a link only, a redirect to an outside browser, and web content displayed in the app. WebView allows the programmer to write the bulk of the app using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, the standard web programming tools. Web elements, the WebView, are wrapped within a native shell for iOS or Android. NowSecure analysts typically see WebView used for contact lists, privacy information, password resets, and other implemented features depending on the mobile app. WebViews are not simply a web app that runs on a phone. We see a bulk of vulnerabilities originating from WebViews given that they require security from both the mobile app along with the app's browser built into its structure. While validating a mobile app for WebViews, consider the following. How is JavaScript implemented in a WebView within the app? Has Set Web Contents Debugging Enabled been set to true? Is the app using a deprecated WebView class? Are any of the activities in the Android manifest set to exported equals true that involve WebViews? Why are validating these items so important? Let's review potential attack vectors if these items are left unchecked. iOS WebViews support JavaScript execution by default, so script injection and cross-site scripting attacks can affect them. Let's show it with an example. UI WebView is deprecated starting on iOS 12 because UI WebView enables JavaScript execution by default and cannot be disabled. Therefore, UI WebView should not be used in any app. use WK WebView or SF Safari View Controller instead. Let's find out how to identify whether the app is using UI WebView. We are using free2trace to monitor if a UI WebView method is called. Here you can see some UI WebView methods called. This confirms the app is using a deprecated method. It will also have JavaScript enabled because we are not able to disable it. Let's test what occurs when we inject some JavaScript code on the name text field. As you can see, the injected JavaScript is executed by the UI WebView and reflected to the user as expected. Here is another example of a possible WebView exploit via Chrome Debugger. The attacker is able to inspect the WebView in the Chrome Debugger. This essentially allows you to analyze all components of the WebView, similar to inspecting a website, and the device storage. This attack vector applies when the attacker has physical access to an unlocked device with USB debugging enabled. When using UI WebView, JavaScript cannot be disabled for iOS WebViews. Verify whether or not the binary contains instances of UI WebView. Using a simple grep command within the IPA will help. Note the following example for Android. Adding an intent filter without explicitly setting exported to false will implicitly set exported to equal true. Consider whether you actually intended for the component to be exported. Also, review whether they want to receive implicit intents in this component. This equally applies to all IPC components that support intent filters, activities, services, receivers, and content providers according to the Android Developer Guide. An attacker targeting an app can always fire an explicit intent. Explicit intents do not change the fundamental mechanics of authentication. What's important is, if it was not designed to be exposed, set exported to equal false. If it was designed to be exposed to any other app, it should not expose more data than intended. If it was designed to be exposed to any other app by the same developer, it should use signature permissions. If it was designed to be exposed to any other app holding the relevant credential, it should use some internal authentication mechanism, like any web service, microservice, or DCOM RPC. Be mindful of what is directly and indirectly loaded into the WebView. WebViews may cache sensitive data and ideally should be cleaned up.